Hello everyone, my name is Ben Eady and I'm the online media manager of ModernAnalyst.com, the premier online community for business analysts. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar titled The Top 10 Business Analyst Trends of 2013. Today's featured speaker is Nancy Neem with ESI International, and this webinar will last approximately 60 minutes. So make sure to submit your questions in advance using the question feature on the webinar software. And I'd also like to say thank you to ESI for sponsoring this event. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Nancy to get us started.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good something, wherever you are. I hope that you have, if you're in the morning, enjoying a second cup of coffee. If you are in the evening somewhere, perhaps you have something a little bit more exciting than a cup of coffee. And for the rest of us, any kind of caffeinated beverage to get us through the hump of the day, that would be great. I'm so excited to be sharing with you our 2013 top 10 BA trends that we have worked globally with a bunch of subject matter experts to be able to define what is happening in the field of BA, especially around the hot topics of Agile these days. As you can see, as we go through the uncovering of what these trends are, you'll uncover or hear about the power of requirements, which is all what the BA is. We're going to talk about the trends at all levels that the requirements are going to have from a BA focus through the different layers of its application at the Agile level and at the business architecture level to deliver business value in the organization. I hope that you're going to be able to see how you can begin to think about the role and the evolution of this much needed skill set from the perspective of BA. So with that stated, I want to get started. I want to also let you know that I'm hoping this will be very interactive. I've put some polls in here for you to get your input around what's going on these days and what your thoughts and feelings are around the particular trends. So with that said, let's launch into trend number one. The role of the business analyst and the product owner will be solidified and respected. This to me is fantastic in the statement that the business analyst and the product owner, which is an unclear area these days when we're working in a project environment, happens to be something that keeps surfacing as, should the BA be a product owner? Should the product owner be a BA? In fact, the most successful delivery of Agile projects really require that the business analyst and the product owner role have two different distinct people or bodies that embody these two particular roles. The BA's role is to work with the product owner to help them define the priority of the backlog by pushing things that are of high value to the customer to the forefront of the actual requirements work, to really understand what are the dependencies, the future state, the as-is, to be able to help them understand, let's drive that value. The product owner, working with that BA's skill set, will be able to make that decision about what the backlog is and which items should be developed first. In the past, the product owners would add items to the backlog during a sprint and disrupt the project. But now with the critical role of the business analyst working in conjunction with the product owner, in 2013, we will see the evolution of the role of the BA be even more solidified and actually defined as a key component to the Agile team when they are working with that product owner. It will be a role that will be better defined, better respected, and understood in a way that will help drive business value and result in greater improvement for the Agile projects that really are from the perspective of the business. Out of curiosity for me, for those who are working on an Agile project, let's go to a poll for a second. From a polling perspective, what do you see or foresee a challenge to be for a BA in working with their product owner? Would it be something that it would be a challenge for you to help define the priority of the backlog or with the product owner? Or is it that you'll have the greatest challenge being able to help push the greatest value of delivery ahead in the schedule with the product owner? Or the fact that maybe you're already working in that environment and you say, a lack of the product owner's real understanding of their roles and responsibilities will be my greatest challenge. So I can see the polls as they're coming in, and as I look at that, it seems that about 69, it's jumped up to about 72% of you think that the product owner's role and responsibility will be the greatest challenge as you begin to think about how the BA will work with the product owner. The rest, say about 20%, in helping define the priority of the backlog. And then the other is prioritizing the customer value with the user stories from that end. So I don't know if you all can see the published polls at this point. I'd like to be able to share that if you haven't been able to see it. So if you're able to see it, this is fantastic news. That I would say that absolutely, from the perspective of the business analyst, as you start to solidify your role and get the clarity out, one is that the organizations who are adopting Agile will understand exactly the kind of value that a business analyst will bring in helping that product owner define those great value components within their user stories or features. What we will begin to see occur, or is a frustration point that you should look forward to, if you want to look forward to a frustration, but at least you'll know about it, is the fact that your product owner will need some upskilling on what exactly their roles and responsibilities are. The good news is there's a lot of training and different courses out there that will help provide that perspective to someone who will take on the role of product ownership. So let's move on to trend 2. In trend 2 in 2013, we find that the strong user stories will be the force of driving effective requirements analysis and product backlog prioritization. I know I had mentioned in the beginning of the introduction when I was talking about where is the focus of the 2013 trends. It's about Agile and the different layers of requirements and business architecture. This is another point around Agile and the requirements there. From the perspective of the number 2 trend of the user stories being the strong driving force of effective requirements analysis, it's really going to help drive that product backlog value and prioritization that is going to be delivered. If a BA is working with their product owner, the typical focus of the BA is on eliciting and analyzing those user stories, allowing for better prioritization of the backlog, which will lead to understanding what's the true value driver that that product owner is stating. The BAs are going to increasingly understand that the successful user stories really rely heavily on what they already know about requirements management and development, business analysis, all of those key strong components. The BA's role and the skill that they have as already in place is the foundation for successful Agile projects. Practice is really going to make perfect in 2013 for you when it comes to leveraging your current BA analysis requirement skills, elicitation skills, modeling skills in creating those effective user stories. What I'd like to see is from the perspective, instead of actually doing another poll at this moment, because a poll will be forthcoming, but from your standpoint, I'm going to go to the questions and see if there's any questions that you have that target your concerns or challenges you may have around user stories and being able to effectively use them in product prioritization. Let's take a look at the questions out there. Now, it doesn't seem at this point that I see any questions posted in the question feature. Wait, it looks like, oh, let's see. Now, this is going to be a challenge for me. Please excuse me if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but Marish Matia says that, what do you mean by an effective user story? So an effective user story is going to contain all those different components that are going to help the business achieve the value that they're trying to deliver. Effectiveness means that we've defined the acceptance or success criteria and really have also defined the different personas that are going to drive it back to the value of what we initially said we were going to achieve when those user stories were implemented. So does it have all of the right components that make up a strong user story to be able to drive, one, the value, but two, also be able to be small enough that the team can take on and deliver during an iteration? Another question I see come in around the lines of requirements is from Andy. He says, if user stories are atomic, are these not too detailed to allow for prioritizing? The answer is no. There are different layers of user stories. User stories is one layer of requirements. So user stories is one component in which you can prioritize the work during an actual iteration planning session. What you would create from a requirements perspective of Agile requirements using the different layers of Agile requirements being theme, feature, user story, or task. Those are different ways that you can prioritize based on the different levels of requirements. So in some cases, no, the answer is straight out is no. It depends on what you're prioritizing. But yes, you can also say they're atomic in nature if you're trying to use them to prioritize, say, what are the high-level themes or objectives we're trying to achieve. I'll do one more question, and then I'll switch to a poll that makes me wonder what your thoughts are around those actual requirements in Agile. It's let's see. Rashun says, how's blend of PM and BA will go in the coming future? So what I will say from that perspective is if you will hang on to that question, in about 2 or 3 more trends, we'll actually talk about what's going to happen between the role of the PM and the BA as you continue to see what the trend unfolds given the state of how project delivery is happening in 2013. So having said that, let's move on to the next poll where I have a curious question for you. When you're looking at Agile requirements, I know we always talk about user stories. What, from your perspective or exposure that you have, are the different levels of Agile requirements development that you find are most challenging when you're in the process of developing those user requirements? I see that a good portion of you are saying that user stories are the challenge for you. The next runner-up is at the theme level. But yeah, I would say that user stories mostly affecting us at the BA level because we typically have the challenges are from the user story standpoint. That would be a major challenge, at least from an effective requirement standpoint. But what I'm going to challenge you with in trend number 2, and for you to start thinking about it, is because Agile is such a higher exposure to looking at how you can strategically bring value to the business and constantly be able to help your product owner prioritize the features they're looking for based on their immediate business need, that at this point in time, you would have to start to take a look at your ways of developing effective requirements at the many layers that requirements are developed during the Agile iteration process. So you'll have to be more savvy at looking at it from the business perspective or at the theme perspective, understanding what are the different features that need to be clustered together. What are those user stories? What exactly those are the tasks that we would need to achieve the user story? The good news is the team as a whole would be the ones who would be developing all of these different layers of requirements, but the driving factor in helping the team get there would be the business analyst, because we as BAs embody those core skills already to be able to leverage understanding business requirements, user requirements, functional requirements that we will help navigate the waters of the different layers of Agile. Now moving on, let's talk about trend number 3. This one is actually one of my favorite trends. It's probably my second favorite trend here, which is forget consensus. In 2013, it's all about collaboration and convergence. I'll tell you why it's one of my favorite, one of my top 3 favorites, because you can't have top 10. These are the top 10. But I have top 3 favorites. And if you were to say, Nancy, which top 3 would you say we really should focus on as a BA? This would be one of them. The reason I say that is if you think about all of our work now as BAs on projects, we always tend to have to wait for everybody to be happy. That everybody has to have consensus before we can move on, that everybody has to have that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. And it often delays us from being able to get the value delivered right away. From an Agile perspective, it isn't saying we don't need consensus necessarily, but what we need is we need to take our ability to collaborate with one another, and we need to all then, with our differing perspectives, converge on the most appropriate at the time solution to the challenge or the issue that we have at hand, so that we can immediately start to see the benefit of it. This whole convergence path is fantastic for you to be able to get work done, to be able to get the decisions made as you need it, to be able to move to the next process. I mean, it's all about helping us really understand that priority of the backlog, adjust for the ever-changing needs of the business, and really get us to delivering working products of value that are used all the time on a regular basis. One of my biggest pet peeves when I was doing full-on BA immersed work was that we spent through the time of creating requirements during a waterfall, painstakingly process, or even in Agile where you go through it, and you deliver it and it just sits there and they say, yeah, that's great, we were happy to have that, but it's not really what we needed. It's funny that when you look at reports out there now that a lot of work we do with our expertise of elicitation and analysis of requirements, that if you, in a waterfall setting, because we need everything to be consensus driven and we wait and we look for everybody to be okay with it, that about 80% of the features and functionality that we deliver, that we've labored over gathering those requirements, they're never used, never to rarely used. Only 20% are always used or sometimes used. Can you imagine what we could actually do if we were able to converge on decisions faster and to be able to leverage the power of usability right away? That's all the focus of consensus and collaboration. Let's talk about trend number 4. The BAs will become the new PMs through Agile. So the earlier stated question is, what's the blend of PM and BA? What's going to happen with that? So trend number 4, in quite honestly, is my top number 1 favorite trend of the top 10 BA trends. And this is why. I come from a BA background, but I've learned about PM over time, and I've grew up in that. And the reason is why this is such a big deal. Within Agile, the term project management or project manager is being replaced by words like project leader or project leadership or scrum master if you're using Scrum as an approach to Agile. Regardless of the title, the notion of leading and managing a project is no longer just isolated to the actual title of project manager or project management. So in Agile, everyone is at least theoretically what is called a generalizing specialist. They have the ability to have multiple complementary skills to support the delivery of an iteration in a project, and that they really are relying on the core skills of PM because the team is self-directed and self-motivated. The reason why the BAs will become the new PMs through Agile is because the BAs are going to be really, again, at the driving point of helping plan and estimate those iterations, because BAs, like we always do, we have intimate knowledge of what those user stories are, what those requirements are, that we have the capacity to share the interdependencies of what is relied upon, and we're working with our product owners to tease out what are some of their dependencies from business perspective, that we have that ability and the foresight to be able to say, here's how is the best way for us to plan and estimate. That's a core PM skill that I see the BAs will need to seek out and become stronger at. The question really is, over time, if Agile continues to be a driving force in the makeup of how we deliver projects, will the project manager's role become obsolete? I'm not really sure, but time will only tell when it comes to that. In some cases, if you listen to PMI or are familiar with PMI, you can actually begin to see them start to change their terms as they refer to project manager. They're calling them now project leaders. So maybe the BAs will become the new BAs the BAs will become the new PMs over time. So let's go to a poll. Out of my curiosity for you, as you think about, oh, the BAs are going to become the new PMs. What does that mean for me when I need to develop my skill? Is it causing me to panic a little because, oh, really, Nancy, I have no idea what you mean by estimating and planning, or scheduling and cost control, or risk management? What do you mean I have to know all of these core skills of PM? Where would you say, as a BA or BAs in general, where would they have to develop their core PM skills? Is it in estimating? Is it in risk? Is it in scheduling and planning, which are synopsis to each other? I see a lot of you, 40% of you are saying risk management. 37% of you are saying scheduling and planning. It's very interesting for me when I look at these poll results as they're coming in, that 44% and 37% between risk and scheduling. From a project management perspective, you actually have risk as a core foundational element that goes into the things that you do from a scheduling and planning and estimating standpoint. What's the risk behind us not being able to schedule or plan appropriately or estimate appropriately? So it's no surprise to me that 44% of you have some sort of desire or need to be able to further develop your PM skills around risk management. And some of you already say, well, Nancy, we do this already with our requirements. We do some risk management already. But it's no surprise to me that risk management would be the top choice. Planning and scheduling and estimating is another one I see that are some higher grounds there. So let's go to some questions. I see there are some questions here that are flagged. I've got a question from Rick that says, what advice do you have for BAs who work in a hybrid environment? Where must we write both user stories and use cases? Can they be used together? Absolutely, Rick. You know that I just wrote and published a point of view paper specifically on use cases and user stories as it relates to that. Use cases are going to be part of your task as you begin to develop those user stories, because user stories just create a high level information of, as a user, I would like to be able to have the system do X and is measured by whatever the goal or objective is. The use cases are really going to help you identify what exactly needs to get done. So Rick, I would recommend it, you could take a look at how in that paper that I wrote, it will actually correlate for you how and where is the best places for you to meld user stories and use cases. I also see that there's a question from Kim about BAs not being given enough responsibility to develop user stories, that Agile projects still expect to have BAs develop only heavy text requirements. I would say absolutely, Kimberly, that Kimber, that actually that's a problem that we are beginning to see as one of the challenges to Agile adoption, is that the clarity of what the BA can do, or the level of responsibility or accountability or that a BA can have within an Agile project is unclear. As we are seeing more literature and as we are providing more thought leadership out there in that space, we will begin to see that that BA will have more ability to have the time to actually go through and develop the models and not just the text-based requirements that are written on a story card. Well, I see another question from Laura about the BA bug changes. Will the BA bug changes reflect this? The PM is called out separately with different roles. You know, I can't confirm or deny, but I have some pretty good sources at IIBA that will address some of these potential changes. Of course, they cannot ever eliminate the role of the PM, but you will see over time the evolvement and the change within that. So you'll see within the BA block that there is a level of risk management that the BA will need to do during Agile. You'll also see during the BA block release that there is going to be some additional responsibilities of the BA during user story development around helping with estimating and planning. These are all things that hedge upon the PM skill or the PM role, but outright would the BA block ever say the role of the PM is gone? Absolutely not. I see there's another question. Aren't Scrum Masters equivalent to project managers? Rashen, in some way you could say, sure, it's an easy one-for-one match, but in the Scrum Master role, they become really more of a process facilitator, project leader, versus a manager of tasks and activities, which is what a project manager is. So a Scrum Master is just saying that this individual who has been successful at passing these Scrum courses are able to go ahead and be there to provide this information around the whole Scrum process. So they are there to corral the process of Scrum and help the team be able to be successful in that environment, but not necessarily there to manage, say, a WBS anymore. So that's if you are looking for a one-for-one, it could be, but their roles truly are very different now. Let's see, there's a question from Vadhana that says, can you talk a little about leading and managing a BA Center of Excellence? I could talk about that, but I would say in a couple of more slides, we'll talk a little bit about the evolution of the Center of Excellence to see what that would look like and how that evolves in. So I'll ask you to hang on to your question for a minute before I answer that. And then I'll do one more question that says, oh, many people have had the same question. So how about I'll just summarize this, and I'll say that the question is, are product owners equivalent to Agile BAs? And what exactly is the difference? So I would say, again, from a BA perspective, the role of the product owner and the BA role in Agile are two very distinctive roles. If a BA within an organization has the understanding of the entire business process and can make business decisions that affect that business process, could they fulfill the role of a product owner? Absolutely they can. They can do both roles. But in many cases, most organizations are set up where the BAs are experts at understanding how the workflow, processes, interactions, elicitation of requirements, dependencies, all of those things that we hold near and dear to our hearts as BAs, they are absolutely there to help us out. But from a product ownership perspective, most of us don't have that decision-making authority that can affect how we actually change the way we work and affect our workflow and delivery of business value and those drivers. So they're two very distinct roles in that perspective. So let's move on to trend number 5. So in trend number 5, I would like to say that trend number 5 says that BAs will be seen as the keystones to adopting Agile. As you can see, the theme of Agile, requirements, architecture, they're starting to come together. They're going to mesh together, and you're saying, what's the deal around that? What exactly is it? The reason why BAs are the keystones to adopting Agile is because at its core, Agile is all about better requirements and delivering those requirements in usable, workable products on a regular basis. Every 4 to 6 weeks is what we mean by regular basis, which is in Agile an iteration. Since the BA's core strengths now are gathering and analyzing and eliciting requirements, that whole requirements management and development process, organizations at the whole, as they start to transform and adopt Agile, they are going to realize that that even if people don't have the title BA, that skill set of BA needs to be adopted across the organization to be successful at delivering any Agile project or to even function at a more mature level as an Agile organization, to prioritize their funding, their business decisions based off of Agile's practices. This is really going to be requiring a lot of people to have the skill sets that we now as BAs proudly tout that we have, that we know our as-is to-be states analysis, our to-be, our value stream analysis, all the things that we do so well now, they're going to look to us as the experts to help be able to grow that within the organization. It's truly the core function that's going to make people successful. I think what will happen from a BA perspective in the IIBA's industry, I think what will happen is that the IIBA's CBAP certification will go up higher because organizations will say everybody needs to have this level of competency, and they should have this base certification of competence that the CBAP brings. And then we'll also see maybe over time, as the BA BOC becomes more mature around Agile, that maybe there will be a release of perhaps a BA-centric Agile role when it comes to Agile projects, very similar to the PMI's ACP. Coming soon, let's see if 2014 brings that into light. So let's see if there are any questions about that. I don't see there are any at this point, so we'll go on to trend number 6. Not my utmost favorite, but I have one more top 3 that I'll share. It's on its way. But the U.S. government in trend number 6 is really going to slowly recognize the value of business analysis as it moves toward an Agile environment. This, to me, speaks volumes. There are so many resources out there from the OMB, the Office of Management, and from and as well as the Department of Defense. There's also from the U.S. government's federal CIOs, a 25-point reform plan. They have had so many things come out where they're hinting toward business analysis as a strength, but they don't actually call it out specifically as the word BA. They talk about it in terms of stronger requirements, effective requirements. So requirements management in government is such a highly focused area now where everyone says we really need this strong skill set. Have they gotten around to start referring to that as business analysis? Not yet, but everything that embodies BA, they're already talking about, and they're really, with all the things that are happening with our government, with shrinking budgets, fiscal cliffs, you know, the sequestration that happened, that I'm jumping on my words at this point in time. Forgive me. I need a sip of my caffeine and it'll be good. But all these things lead us to know that the reason why they are really looking at understanding better requirements, development, and management as the driver in the government space, and why they're leading to everything that they're producing and expecting of their project work to deliver in a modular space, means that Agile is truly at the forefront of their mind, and they have recognized that the base core skills of business analysis, as they define it as strong requirements, is the keystone for them to actually begin to get into the value and recognize that this is what they need to be successful at their delivery. Now we get on to my third top favorite trend. Trend number 7 is my third top favorite trend. Strategic enterprise analysis becomes the foundation of business architecture. This, to me, speaks volumes from the growth of our profession as business analysts. It really helps establish us to say we are here with such a strong skill set, organizationally, professionally. Everybody take a look at what we can do for the business and the value that we can bring, because we have the ability to help understand where the organization should go and be able to bring in front the mind, in front of all the executives' minds as to what the focus should be. Strategic enterprise analysis focuses on defining the value streams of an organization by analyzing the impact of core business processes and business capabilities to achieve strategic goals. That's what enterprise analysis is, and that's what that knowledge area states within the BA box. But business architecture is the next evolution of the business analysis skill, where it leverages those core BA practices and skills to create and maintain a set of business-owned information assets that serve to the organization as a blueprint for planning and execution of strategy. Everyone today, because of our budget crisis and just becoming more effective and efficient at running their business, is taking a look at how we can be more operationally effective and how we can also be essentially the next Apple, where people are lining up outside our door to buy our product. That's what everybody is taking a look at these days. And business architecture with enterprise analysis, it's at the key of what these people are looking forward to do. The purpose of business architecture is to define the what of a business, such as we define the what within the project, meeting goals, etc. And it perfectly aligns with the skills that we have, that we do from a project perspective. As more companies really begin to embrace the discipline of business architecture, they're looking to senior BAs to step into that emerging role as a business architect. So I know I've put in something where you're probably sitting there going, wow, I don't know if I believe this, Nancy. It's quite a stretch. Or maybe, yeah, I've actually been hearing stuff around this, but I've never had the term business architecture tied to it. I see there are questions rolling in on this trend as well, so I'm going to take a look and see if I can answer that, because maybe some of you are thinking about it, but your coffee hasn't kicked in and you haven't typed that fast. But it looks like Kimber asked, what information led to this list of trends? Especially curious about the one for the government. So in the government one, so Kimber, globally, ESI is a thought leader in the space of business analysis, project, Agile, contracting, government. We are there from the perspective of everything project delivery excellence related. And globally, we have subject matter experts, partners that are in this space continuously providing successful delivery that we always, every year, pull together resources as well as our other publications out there to be able to pull this information and give you the coming trends. What we also do is from the perspective of our clients who represent what these trends are, and we understand where their business is. This is another place where we pull this information. From the government, because we have such a government presence, and we also see we leverage each other in terms of partnership and strategic view. The sixth viewpoint, or the trend that you saw, is from our work with them as partners, but also from a government publication standpoint. There are so many publications out there that talk about Agile and the role of BA, or in the case from a government perspective, they never actually use the word BA, they use requirements and better requirements. That really is why we are saying this is where it comes from, Kimber, that it's not just Nancy Nee locked up in a room coming up with these trends, but it really is a global presence across our fine green earth, as well as our interactions with practitioners and subject matter experts on that front. So, Rick, there's a question that you have about the things that you struggle with in separating the role between the BA and the BPA. There's a lot of overlap. What is the best way to draw the difference between system and process? So the best way from that perspective, there is no best way necessarily, but from a systems perspective, your systems analysis or your systems approach is leveraged on the core skills of process. So you need to understand the process model or the workflow model first as to how information is streamed from one area to the next. It's the value of the output that you're trying to achieve at the business level. The systems part of that then is, what are the system processes that must function in the back end to support that in conjunction with it? If we change our system process, how does that affect our overall value stream? How does that affect our overall process from a business perspective? They go hand in hand, but one actually supports the other as a foundation. So business process is your foundation in which you have to establish first. The system then says, how do I enable it to be successful? But oftentimes change can occur in either of the systems. Kimber, you have one more question. It says, please address the confusion between business architecture, enterprise architecture, and solution architecture. I would say, Kimber, do we have 5-6 hours to sit and chat? This is really quite a bit. I mean, I think in a nutshell what we're saying is typically from a standard definition perspective. When people use the word enterprise architecture, they are most often just referring to the IT infrastructure architecture that supports all of our systems that run to keep the business going. Whereas business architecture is more about the business and how are we going to be changing and structuring ourselves from a business perspective that is going to drive value and increase revenue, operational costs, that kind of work. The solution architecture is taking the two and knowing where we're going and what we have in place to support it. What do we have to do to be able to get there? That solution architecture is typically more project portfolio based versus enterprise architecture, and business architecture are more ongoing and establishing the organizational growth and strategic plans. So those at a high level are your major differences. So let's go on to the next trend. In trend number 8. Just probably as a side note, you're wondering why I'm about to tell you this, but every time I see the number 8, it makes me happy. Yeah, from my last name, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm Chinese, and in the Chinese culture, the number 8 is very lucky. And so every time I see the number 8, it makes me smile, because when I see that the trend number 8, BA, COEs, will focus on proving their worth and driving innovation. There was an earlier question about, well, how do you manage and develop BA centers of excellence? Over time, BA centers, there's different things with BA's centers of excellence as you start to establish them. But, and we can talk about that continuously offline if you want to know specific details around what that would be. But specifically as a trend in 2013, because in 2011 and 2012, we saw a lot of time and dedication in the business analysis centers of excellence, centers of practices being built. And the driving force behind that was a focus on that business architecture and meeting strategic goals that the organization was trying to set. What happened now was during that time of the COE's development and getting settled into place, we began to also see that because we were under financial constraints, there was a lot more focus on the architecture side of the business. What that meant for us from a COE standpoint, driving innovation, is that the focus is now on looking to the COE as the place in which we would be able to execute our value streams of business architecture. It allows for that innovation of having that common business language, the framework that's going to help us really understand our business models, that makes project work a lot easier when we get into that, because we already have a continuous validated as-is state based on the different workflows that we may have. This is really setting the stage for defining the what of a business as it relates to strategic project investments going forward. This BA COE trend is going to continue to focus its worth of driving innovation as Agile becomes more and more of a adopted cultural aspect within organizations at a project level. They go hand in hand, and they won't disappear, but what will happen is they will further solidify the fact that the business analysis skill is the most prevalent in order to make us successful with that. I see that, Alan, you have a question about, are you actually seeing a critical mass in organizations recognizing the BA's worth, investing in the role, providing tools, COE support? I would say absolutely, without a doubt, hands down. We have clients globally who have, from our engagement, have worked with us to implement a full-scale organizational-wide business analysis upskilling of a training path that gets everyone from underwriters in a financial services industry to their risk managers, to their financial planners, to their mergers and acquisitions. They have everybody going through the core business analysis skills of eliciting requirements, analyzing requirements, modeling requirements, that these are facilitating sessions of requirement sessions. These are the core skills that they're actually putting into place, because there is a recognition that without these skills, it makes it very difficult to be able to affect the business changes that will actually make a difference in today's work environment. I also see there's a question from Heidi that it says that at our company we have a BA community of practice. Do you think that would be a task of a BA COE? The company has adopted BA roles, yet we struggle with their understanding of worth. We use the community as we have BAs across the company to participate, use common language, and be consistent to prove our worth. So the BA Center of Practice, Heidi, is actually a very good starting point to start propagating the common language among your practitioners. The next level of growth really is now to move your COP, your Center of Practice, into a Center of Excellence where organizationally there is a understanding of, wow, this is the power behind what these community of practitioners have been able to do. There's a level of consistency. So they go hand in hand. It's a growth process, but absolutely, you have to start with a strong COP where at the community practitioner level, you are all on the same page as you evolve into a COE. Well, I'll take one more question from Brandon. It's in terms of a BA career path. It seems like common career path is BA, then PO. Is that consistent with your experience? What typically comes after PO? So I would say, yeah, there are different ways or different tracks that you would see, but if you'll hang on to that, I will actually show you the evolution of what that would look like. If you'll bear with me for just two more trends, and you'll be able to see the evolution of the role as we start to understand more of the architecture role and what that career pathing will be like. So let's go on to trend number 9. Trend number 9 is modeling skills take precedence in business analysis training. This whole notion of modeling is going to be why that BA skill is going to be elevated. Because think about what we already do so well as BA practitioners out there. We know how to model processes. You do use case modeling. We know how to model the business rules that interface with the different types of business information that's needed with our tools and models. We have so many different ways of modeling stuff, and that show so many different kinds of data and effects to the actual business. So many organizations that are trying to embrace Agile and business architecture simultaneously or at separate rates, they're beginning to understand the value of the modeling skills that we as BAs do on projects as a value driver for delivering quick, efficient, and effective solutions. So what's happening is that this whole embracing of Agile in business architecture is really bringing into the forefront in everybody's mind of we need to get better at modeling. We need to make sure that we're modeling. So for BAs, your trend in 2013 is upskill yourself, continue to be even more effective and efficient in how you model your work when it comes to project environments. From that standpoint, from a modeling perspective, I would like to know, what are your thoughts around modeling? So in this poll, I'd like for you to take the time to spend and talk to me about what modeling techniques do you feel you would need some more exposure to, especially now that you've heard the trends around business architecture, around strategic enterprise analysis, value stream, also with the fact that Agile is going to require you to also use use cases to further develop those user stories. Where would you say you would say, Nancy, if I could spend the time right now, I would go off and want to go to this modeling class because this is the place I really need more exposure to be successful, because I really want to enter into, say, business architecture, into that business architect role. It looks like 41% of you are saying business data information modeling, 31% of you are saying use case modeling, 24% are saying process modeling, 4% of you are saying none. Okay, so I would say 42% of you are saying business data modeling or information modeling is your strongest place where you would like more exposure to. That to me is actually no surprise. It actually further solidifies the trend that we see of needing the modeling skills to be more focused, to be prepared for the trend and evolution of strategic enterprise analysis becoming the foundation of business architecture, that trend number 7, which is one of my top 3 favorite trends. The reason is business data or information models are going to help you be able to further help the business define what the value stream is that they're trying to deliver. It's taking into account all of those policies, all of the different kinds of rules that are in effect, and say, why are those rules there? It allows us to be able to be more innovative and more creative in that vein. So this whole modeling perspective is going to truly help you be able to do that. So I would suggest, if you are able to look at business information modeling, you go off and try to find some more skills around that. But absolutely, if you're really interested in doing some business architecture. The last trend that is so also exciting to me, just because it communicating up, is, I just love saying the word communicating up. Communicating up will become critical to articulating requirements' impact on deliverables. Trend number 10 is, to me, the capstone of what is happening in the trends of all the different trends I've laid out. Because the value of us being able to address requirements at many different layers, regardless of our technical skills, we have that ability to be able to help over time establish what exactly is the right solution, build that convergence path faster. It really is a way for the BA to effectively talk about what the solution possibilities are, because we are able to craft our messages appropriately in the right audience to accept the message. It gives us that ability to overcome the challenges of delivering hard news. So in the trend number 10 of communicating up, and articulating those requirements. The BAs are going to, in this trend, become less uncomfortable at delivering those hard messages, but really become more as recognized experts in the possible impacts to the different challenges that are occurring within the projects, especially if you're doing Agile project work, because the BAs will recognize this as a career building portion if they're trying to elevate themselves into that architecture space. It serves as the foundation to be successful if you're trying to deliver Agile requirements or business architecture requirements in value stream mapping. It goes into serving as the BA Center of Excellence, focusing on proving the worth. It really is about, at many different angles, perspectives, layers, sharing that message across the board in such the crucial conversations that will draw people's attention to give you the convergence that you're looking for. Brandon, the question you were having about BAs, really, and the evolution over time, quite frankly, is that there is a change now in BAs. It used to be the BA path, because of these trends and the things that we see, or the lack of these trends, or the lack of the understanding of the BA role, was that the BAs eventually evolved into either process owners or product owners or project managers, depending on what the organizational makeup is. Now we are seeing a global trend of a career path for BAs that are in multiple different states. The most common trend that we see now for BAs is entry-level BA or junior BA, intermediate BA or level 2 BA, senior BA. After senior business analysis, you can have a move forward to either business architect or business systems architect or business enterprise architect. It's just, there is a vernacular of naming convention that is a challenge right now in the industry as business architecture is becoming more seated, but you will begin to see that role evolve over time. Product ownership will begin to disappear as a career path for a BA if the organization is not focused as a process or product environment. So it all really is going to depend based on how your current structure is set up, but as a trend and as a global effect, we begin to see that the BAs have their own specific career pathing in mind. I'll take one more question before I summarize, because I know we're getting close to the hour, and I appreciate your time and participation. Alan has a question that says, to me, intimately aware of the needs of the business implies a domain specialty. Many organizations have BAs as generalist type roles. Is the trend away from generalist to more specialized BA skills? When we say intimately aware of the needs of the business, that means that at that point in time, when they're working with their product owner, with the business, or their subject matter expert, they are hearing their pains, they're hearing the value that they're trying to achieve. They are intimately aware at that moment of what the business needs. It's not how the business functions generally as a whole. The intimate awareness is really the needs and the challenges or the demands that are being brought up at the time of that project. That's what we mean by that. So, Alan, it doesn't change the focus of the BA being generalists, but really more asking them to be more involved and more understanding of the impacts that the business is telling the BA that they really need, and be able to tease it out as to what exactly is the root cause of what is going on, so that the right kinds of solutions could come up. So in summary, I would like to say that the business analyst trends for 2013 really covers a full gamut, from being very technical at the tactical level to very broad view and strategic. It's still going to take a look at all the impacts of your project execution. It's going to be not only going to be during sanctioned, approved projects where you're already assigned, but you will be applying those skills ahead of time during perhaps initiation, or perhaps maybe even feasibility before it even gets initiated. These are all the skills that are going to help drive all the layers of requirements that impact the delivery of business value. The business analysis core skills of modeling, of being able to understand dependencies, understanding the gaps, understanding the value stream. Those are all major drivers that the BA will also begin to continue to leverage, but perhaps maybe even use more as organizations are really trying to focus on embracing Agile and enterprise architecture, business architecture, fundamentally as a core value that the organization will have. Finally, the profession of business analysis is going to continue to intertwine with core business operations. That whole skill set, that whole profession, I think you'll see that over time, it is my prediction, in about 5 to 7 years, we will begin to see job requisitions actually write in previous business analysis experience, or write in the experience of knowing impact analysis, requirement solicitation as base core must-have requirements to satisfy business operation type roles that are being posted. With that said, I want to say thank you so much for listening. If there are any other questions, and we have about a minute left before the time is up, let's take a look and see if there are any more. But if not, thank you again for joining and listening to the 2013 trends of BAs. It doesn't look like there any more questions there. So I'll hand it back over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy, for a very informative presentation, and thank you everyone for attending today's Modern Analyst webinar sponsored by ESI International. I wanted to point out the webinar along with the slides will be archived at ModernAnalyst.com within a few days. This concludes today's event, and we hope you have a great day.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be